Alright, now that the birds are gone, I'm going to go ahead and see if I can't split this apart. The reason why we took it out is we had a big transmission fluid leak right there at the bell housing, so we had to pull the tranny anyway, and we figured since we were pulling the tranny, we might as well pull the motor, take it out, clean it up a little bit. And so I'm going to go ahead and split those and maybe put this engine on a stand and set the hydra-matic on a bench. I've been doing a little reading on the hydra-matics, and they're kind of interesting. They don't work quite like a modern transmission. They don't have a torque converter in them. These ones don't. They have fluid couplings, and what a fluid coupling is basically like a torque converter, except it doesn't have a stator in it, so there's no torque multiplication. And part of the way these shift is they actually drain the fluid coupling, or they fill it up depending on what their transmission is trying to do, upshift, downshift, whatever. And by doing that, they instead of using a clutch or band or whatever and one torque converter, they have a couple of fluid couplings, and doing that they get all their gear changes, which is pretty interesting. This one's a Jetaway, I believe, if I remember right, hydra-matic. It's not like the originals, but it's a little bit different. And then there's in my Oldsmobile here, this one has a roto hydra-matic. And these ones, they work a little bit differently than that one, but a roto hydra-matic or a Slim Jim, it's pretty neat. There's still people to this day who argue whether it's a 3-speed or a 4-speed, and the book says it's a 4-stage transmission, which how they figure that is first and second stage are basically the same, except for one thing. This has an accelerotor, which is basically equivalent to a stator in a modern torque converter, and they count first stage as having that torque multiplication from that stator, or the accelerotor, whatever you want to call it, and second is the exact same, except that it's not providing a torque multiplication. So to me it's a 3-speed, because you only have the 1-2 or 2-3 technically shift, and then the 3-4 when you're upshifting anyway. But there's a little bit of controversy on that, and I kind of find it funny, but these are really neat. Luckily I don't have to break into this one, because I hear they're kind of a pain to get tweaked just right, but this one shifts fine. So I guess enough of the babble. I'm going to go ahead and get this thing ready to go. Well, I've gone ahead and I've moved the motor over here, so I'm onto that big puddle of crap, and went ahead and I took the starter off. As you can see, it's pretty filthy on the bottom where we weren't able to clean, but this stuff is just, it's like gum almost. But I got it off. There's 2 bolts. You'll have this long bolt with the ground strap on it. That goes into this top hole, and this other bolt here, about the same size, goes into the bottom, and they come in from the back side and screw in that way. So get a hand on your starter when you crack open the second bolt so it doesn't fall. And then if you come in on this side, now that I've got the starter out of the way, you can see the nuts I have to remove to get everything apart. I also have to take this little tin shield off, and it's bolted along the bottom here in a few places, and I'll take that off and give me a little more room to work in there. So I'll go ahead and grab a wrench and get those bolts off and get that plate out of the way. Alright, well I got that plate off of there, and I'm looking in here, and you can see all of this fluid settled there at the bottom, and it shouldn't be like that. So I'm going to have to unbolt this and get it off, and then take it apart and see what it looks like. I'm not going to take it apart today though. There's a couple places it could be leaking, but I won't really know until I get into it. So I'm going to go ahead and undo that so it'll slide off, and then lower it down, take the bell housing bolts off, and get them separated. Well, I'm getting the bolts out. There's only 4 bolts I believe you need to take off, and those are the ones that are the flex plate to the flywheel bolts. Now I know you're saying, but wait a minute, this is an automatic. They don't have flywheels. Well, this one does. So if you ever want to win a bet with somebody and they say no automatic transmission ever had a flywheel, show them a parts catalog for a 60 Cadillac, and it says flywheel right in there. That's what it's called. So I believe all I got to do is unbolt this flex plate from the flywheel and it should come out. Well, I've got it engine lowered down, engine and transmission, and I've gone ahead and I've taken out the 6 bell housing bolts here that attach the transmission to the engine, and I'm also taking out this bolt here which holds the dipstick tube in. So now if I've done everything right, it should, in theory, just slide apart. I'm going to set it down here and we'll see if that happens. Hopefully it will. Well, there we go. Losing a bit of coolant up front there, but that's alright. And as you can see, it has come apart. Now, this here is it's actually the flex plate. What we've got in the front here is the flywheel, and behind that is a fluid coupling. It's actually attached to it, and if you take out all these bolts, the flywheel will come off and a bunch of fluid will come out, and you'll have to redo the seal in there probably. So you only need to take out the 4 nuts there. So I'm going to go ahead and move this to the table, and I suppose when I get around to actually fixing it, I'll tear it apart and sort of explain how the fluid coupling works in there. I'm not an expert in hydra-matics, but I do know how to read, so I think that'll be it for today. I don't have any bolts long enough they'll thread into there, I don't think, to mount that engine to a stand, so it'll just sit where it is for now. Well, I tell you, I learned one thing tonight. I am not as strong as I used to be. Apparently these things well, they weigh about 220 pounds, and whew, that's a workout. I had it picked up. I actually had the back end sitting here on this table, but there was an arm here, or a linkage that I left on this arm. I don't know if you can see it, but it was sticking straight up in the air, and I had it up here and it fell down, and I couldn't get it back up to slide it on the table, so I had to set it back down, and that arm got twisted up under the transmission when I set it down, and I'm pretty sure I bent that bracket pretty good, so I'm gonna have to take care of that. But yeah, I think I'll wait for somebody else to help me. You know, when I was a teenager, I once picked up a cast iron V6 short block. I didn't pick it up very far, or go very far with it, but I picked it up. That weighs a hell of a lot more than this, so I'm going to have to start working out again or something.